What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical, average American here today to react and learn about Norwegian news. Because as an American, I never get to hear about Norwegian news here in the United States. So today, I want to take some time to learn about the current news and events that are happening in Norway right now that I otherwise never get to hear about. So let's take a look here, starting with Norway caught in Trump's trade war. Oh my, oh my. Yeah, I mean, you've probably heard by now that my president, Donald Trump, has come out and released his new reciprocal tariff plan, where he's just putting tariffs on the entire world. The entire planet Earth can now be mad at us and hate us for all of this madness. And this was so much worse than anybody expected. People were like trying to predict, because Trump was talking about this day a few days ago, how he was going to announce all these tariffs and the plan, and it was so much worse than anyone had ever thought. So somehow, shouldn't we just expect that at this point, I guess? Yeah, I mean, all I know about this is that basically every country in the world has been targeted by the US tariffs now. I suppose that includes Norway, doesn't it? So I'm interested to hear about what Norway thinks about this and how this affects Norway. So far, the effect on the United States has been very, very bad. If you look at the S&P 500 or the NASDAQ or just the US economy and our markets are plummeting. Like everyone's investments are going down, everybody is losing money, prices of goods are going up. Countries all around the world don't want to do business with America. It's very bad. It's very, very bad. That's my American point of view on this. So, yeah. Salmon exporters are reeling, and Norway's prime minister called it very bad news. Yes. After US President Donald Trump confirmed punitive reciprocal tariffs on all imports from countries around the world, I think it's a flat 10% from all countries, and then Trump had like a big poster, like a list of all the countries and all of the tariffs that countries do to the United States. And we're just reciprocating. We're just, we're just equaling what people are doing to us. No, like economists agree. None of this makes any sense. From what I've heard about this, I'm no economist. I don't know everything about like how this works, but from what I've heard, nothing about these tariffs makes any sense, and the way that they were calculated makes no sense. Like, it says Norway will be slapped with a 16% tariff on goods. 16%. 16%! So I'm guessing on Trump's list, he had Norway. Like, somehow they calculated that Norway probably is tariffing the United States at like 20% or 30%, which is absolute nonsense. Like, the way that they calculated how other countries are tariffing the US is just crazy. And it's basically made up numbers so that we can tariff everyone else and say, oh, we're just responding. And it's like, no. This is very serious, says the Prime Minister of Norway, just as he was convening his Labour Party's annual nation meeting in Oslo. For a country like Norway, we live off our exports. It will have consequences for many Norwegian companies and jobs. Yeah, no, it's just bad for everyone. Like, only around 8% of Norwegian exports go directly to the United States. Okay, 8% of Norway's exports to the US. That is good. Like, if you're Canada, Canada exports like 50 or 70% of their goods to America. So they're in a lot of trouble. Norway, it's actually a good thing. It's sad for me to say this as an American. It's actually sad I say this, but I understand that it is good that you guys don't do a lot of trade with us, only like 8%. But as much as 80% of Norwegian exports go to countries in the European Union, which has been slapped with a 20% tariff. 20%, like, never in history has such a thing happened. You cannot overstate how insane this is, this plan. 20% on the EU, 16% on Norway. I didn't know that about Norway. Plus 25% on European cars. That can force cuts in Europe's automobile industry, which Norway is a major exporter of steel, aluminum, and auto parts. I didn't even think about how, if the United States puts tariffs on Europe, how that can affect, or sorry, if the United States puts tariffs on the EU, how that can affect Norway, even though Norway isn't part of the EU. I didn't even think about that. The trade minister calls Trump's tariffs bad for the world economy, critical for Norway. She has been told the tariffs are due to take effect between April 5th and April 9th, pending further calculations and negotiations. Yeah, I mean, we're still kind of in the process of seeing, like, these tariffs are so crazy and the numbers are so big. You can't overstate how big these tariffs are, like how large the percentages are that the Trump government has come up with. Nobody expected this. It's really quite baffling. And bad for the world economy, critical for Norway. So they're due to take effect between the 5th and the 9th of April. Some people are speculating that Trump purposefully has overdone it so that countries around the world will want to call the US and strike some kind of deal before any of this goes into effect. I'm not sure that's going to happen. I don't know if any country wants to make a deal with the United States. That's like the only possible way this horrific plan doesn't happen, I guess. Otherwise, this is going to happen, which is pretty crazy. The US ranks among the countries which Norway imports the most, a point its leaders will stress when responding to the US tariff they find unreasonable. Yeah, we could go on and on and on about this. The trade wars have started. The tariffs are out of control. I don't really know what's going to happen, honestly. But I think, I used to say, most Americans don't really care about all this. A lot of Americans don't understand tariffs and don't understand what they do, or the harm it can cause us, or the harm that it causes other countries. Most Americans don't care about stuff unless it affects them. And this does affect them. And a lot of Americans didn't realize that for months now this was coming. But now that the US markets are starting to decline, stocks are going way down, investments are down, retirement accounts are down, prices of goods are going up. Now that the Americans, our pocketbooks are starting to hurt, and money is starting to become an issue for Americans, now I think people in America will start to care. I know that's kind of sad to say. It's kind of like egotistical and ignorant, but I'm just trying to be honest here. I think it's finally gotten to the point where Americans are feeling enough pain that Americans are starting to question all of this. It took way too long, but it's finally starting to happen. It's interesting to hear the Norwegian point of view on this, because this is like the biggest news right now. And I haven't heard the Norwegian perspective on it. So In related news, Norway has joined Germany, UK, Netherlands, and Belgium in issuing travel warnings to the United States. Travel warnings. Norway is now, you guys are basically saying, don't visit the United States. I never thought I would see the day. I never thought I'd see the day because America, we have prided ourselves on being like, we want to be this great, amazing country that everybody wants to go to. That's something we're proud of. And now nobody wants to come here. Norway is literally issuing a travel warning, a travel advisory for citizens heading to the United States, signaling concern over tightening entry conditions and changes in gender recognition policies. Well, the Norwegian Foreign Ministry confirmed the update, warning the U.S. entry is no longer guaranteed. Wow. So a lot of countries in Europe are doing this, actually going ahead and issuing warnings saying, if you're going to the US, be careful. And I know there's been some weird stories about German and Canadian citizens being detained and held in the United States and people being deported for no good reason. And you can be deported basically if you come to the US, it's up to a random Border Patrol officer to look at you and decide if you can come in or not. And the scrutiny has gotten a lot worse by the sound of it. And wow. There's a lot of Norwegian news today that has to do with the United States. And so that's really interesting to me. And I think it's really valuable to hear this sort of Norwegian perspective on it. Wow. Travel. Wow. I'm still just thinking about tariffs and now travel warnings. What a time to be alive, right? All smiles after a major strike has been averted. Norway's largest trade union confederation went along with an agreement. So a strike has been averted. The deal was hammered out just before the deadline on Tuesday. Who was threatening to go on strike? LO? Huh. I feel like I've heard about this in some of the other Norwegian news videos I've done in the past, that there was a lot of threatening strikes. And this just sounds like another strike has been avoided in Norway. And that's nice to see that through mediation, you guys have kind of come to a deal. Because especially in this time, in these days, like, that's the last thing you need is a strike. Norway's first rocket launch crashed, but is regarded as a great success. Norway launched a rocket and it crashed. That does not sound good. After more than a week of weather delays, Norway's Andøya spaceport and the German firm finally launched a rocket. Their goal is to send satellites into orbit, and the rocket reached an elevation of a few hundred meters before the test was halted and crashed down into the sea. So is this what they wanted? This was just a test? Because when I read the rocket launch crashed, it sounds bad, but maybe that was part of it. They insisted the launch attempt was a success. It was a test flight of an orbital launch vehicle and met all of our expectations. It was a great success. Okay. So that's cool that Norway is like launching satellites and rockets and stuff. That's really cool. This is the first story today that's like good news, I guess. World War II bomb drama ended well? What is going on in Norway? A large evacuated area in the Norwegian town of Elverum has declared safe after a military vehicle and civilian operation disarmed and detonated an 85-year-old World War II bomb. Oh my God, who found this thing? It's among many that had fallen on the area during World War II. That is terrifying. I have major respect for the people who have to go in and deal with this kind of thing. You have to go disarm a bomb. Like, you're literally saving lives and making the area safe. So that's awesome that everything went well. Uh, the bomb was surrounded by a protective wall. 1,000 military were on duty. Oh my God, everyone within 1,500 meters was evacuated. Oh my God, look at this thing. He's just, I'd be scared to go anywhere near this. A World War II bomb. I didn't know those were just sitting around Norway. And finally, cocaine use rising in Oslo. Man, I hate to end on this article. International analysis of wastewater from the sewer system in 100 European countries reveals that cocaine use in Oslo has tripled. Cocaine? That's so strange because in America, we don't associate crime or drugs with Norway at all. But I guess this is just kind of the reality. Maybe Oslo had very little cocaine use, and that means even a small increase in cocaine would triple the amount, even though tripling it still isn't even that much. I'm guessing that's what it is. Oslo was shown to have the highest cocaine use of all Scandinavian cities. Oh my God. Oslo, what are you? Oslo's having a little too good of a time. So they did a study where they analyzed wastewater from the sewer to see the content of cocaine? I did not know they could even do that. Norwegians ranked high among European countries using amphetamines. No kidding. This is part of a European trend of more cocaine. I had no idea this was even a problem. That's unfortunate. I hope this goes down. But maybe it's all the tariffs and the craziness that are forcing people and Norwegians to have to bust out the cocaine in order to get through the day. I get it. it's just the times we're living in. You got to do what you got to do. But seriously, cocaine is not safe, and I hope this stops. Joking aside, like, it's not good, and doing cocaine is not good or healthy, and I hope it goes down, honestly. But anyway, that's the news currently from Norway. A lot of stuff going on. A lot of, man, I think the big sort of news right now, certainly out of America, is the Trump tariffs. And people don't even know how they calculated all these tariffs. These are so much worse than anything anyone projected would happen. And I'm genuinely scared for the future of America and the world. So, I don't know. It just feels like we just have to wait and see what happens, which is never a good feeling, is it? At all. But like I said, I think more and more people are becoming aware and becoming vocal about the harm this is doing. So that's something. Anyway, if you enjoyed this, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment with your thoughts on any of this Norwegian news. That'd be very interesting to hear about from Norwegians out there, because this affects you. And if you're interested in more videos like this, me reacting to Norway and learning about Norwegian culture and seeing Norwegian stuff I've never seen, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching, and see you next time.